Hi, I'm Kenny Goldie, the author of Debt Reduction Made Easy. By now, I hope you're deep into the book. Maybe you've already learned about the top 5 fears of debt settlement. You're into the 6 ways to get out of debt. Maybe you've already gotten into the easy part where you've learned about the full accounting that the business plan asks you to do for your life, like the CEO of any corporation would do for their corporation. You need to know your business's finances. And in debt settlement, you really need to come to these two crucial numbers. You need to arrive at your settlement target amounts, which is the amount of money that you'll need to settle each of your accounts and all of them put together. And you need to arrive at a number of your debt settlement fund, which is how much money you have to put towards those settlement amounts. And as you can see, that settlement fund needs to be equal to or even greater than your settlement target amounts. It's a lot of numbers and a lot of calculating. And unless you're a master at Excel, which most of us aren't, a lot of people maybe just tackle this as an Excel spreadsheet without calculations going on in the background, or they even just write it down on paper and use calculators as they go along, which is why I created the Do-It-Yourself Bailout Settlement Target Spreadsheet. It started off as something I needed in my own debt settlement journey to have all of those numbers and all of that financial information in front of me so I could be prepared when I was in my settlement negotiations, and I want you to be just as prepared. So here you can see the full view behind me. I know you don't see the details right now. I'm going to enlarge it in a second, but you can see it's color-coded columns for what I call your ideas in the book, your income, debts, expenses, assets, your savings for that all-important settlement fund, and that last column in yellow where I come up with that calculation between your fund and your target amounts automatically. I'll take you through it all here in detail so you can really see how functional the spreadsheet is. We start at the income column where you're going to list all of your sources of income. I list many ideas here, 4 sources for you to start with, your salary and any other sources you have. And then there's areas for you to enter your own underneath if you have others that I don't list here. And then this is important. The spreadsheet works on your monthly income and monthly expenses. So if you get paid weekly, there's an automatic calculation here to have that calculate your monthly income, which isn't just times 4. A month is 4.2. So it does that in the background for you. Down here at the bottom, you can see it calculates your monthly income in total from all of your sources. And then we move over to your debts column. You can see at the top here, I break out your credit card debts so you can enter each card account individually and the total balance, the total amount you owe on each card. And then below that, your other debts, vehicle loans and your home loan if you have one, and anything else that is a outstanding debt. And again, down at the bottom, it calculates those totals for you. And this is the part that I love. When we move over to the expenses column, you can see that all of those credit cards that you already entered in the account numbers has automatically moved over here into the expenses column. So you don't need to re-enter everything. You just now enter your monthly payments and the payoff amount that's located on your card statement that you can get the information from there. So the spreadsheet can use those totals for you. And below that, also the monthly amounts of your other debts, your vehicles and home loan are already carried over here for you, and then you can enter others that you don't own, but you have other monthly expenses. I list a lot of ideas here. And once you've done all that, it totals it all up for you. It totals your total monthly credit card expenses. It totals your other monthly expenses, and it comes up down here with this cash flow. Now, this is really important. If you haven't read about it yet in the book, you will. It's the difference between your monthly income and your monthly expenses. If your monthly income is greater than your monthly expenses, you're going to have positive cash flow. If your monthly income is less than your monthly expenses, you're going to have negative cash flow. And the amount of positive cash flow you have is going to be really important as a number that you can put towards your settlement fund over time while also covering your monthly expenses. So if this number is positive, you're in great shape. And if this number is negative, here in the spreadsheet, it makes it so easy to go back and reduce some monthly expenses and see how that helps with your cash flow. Maybe go back to income and pick up a side gig or something and see how that helps with your cash flow. Doing all of those calculations for you automatically so you can just see, yep, I'm in positive cash flow or I'm not, and by how much in either direction. Switch it around as you go without having to break out a calculator and do it yourself every time. And then below that, all these expenses get totaled up for you, and that brings us to the next column, your assets, where again you can enter in your cash, your bank accounts, your 401ks, what I call liquid assets, anything that can easily be turned into cash, and tangible assets. You may at one point decide that building your debt settlement fund requires selling off some collections or furniture or a vehicle you're not using. I go into all of those ideas for how to do that in the book and in the Debt Settlement Easy Business Plan video course. But you can see on this page in this column how easy it is to keep track of all those assets, have it all total up for you. And then something I really like, these other columns calculates for you, not just the current market value of your asset, but if there are going to be costs associated with selling it, commissions or fees and cashing out a CD or giving a collection to an auction house, whatever it is, you can easily have the calculations done in the background to come up with that final cash amount, so that down here at the bottom, you get the actual amount of cash that you're estimating receiving for those liquid and tangible assets. And now we've done the IDEA, your income and debts and expenses and assets. And that brings us to this really fun and important savings column, the S in ideas, where you can see all of the information has already been carried forward for you. Just imagine if you're entering every cell in your spreadsheet by yourself, re-entering all of these assets and debts and expenses, re-entering all of the numbers every time, or trying to calculate them on a calculator or on a sheet of paper. That's why I love this spreadsheet. I made it so it could make your debt settlement process easier and faster. So all of your assets and debts and income and expenses are automatically carried over here. All you have to do now is allocate what percentage of those things you want to contribute monthly to your debt settlement fund. So let's say you're in positive cash flow from income by $300 a month. You can say, I want to give 50% of that, or 75% of that, or 90% of that, or 10% of selling my car, or whatever it is. It automatically calculates the dollar amount for you here when you've entered the percentage. And then you get to see how that fund will build over time. So in these three columns, you enter the date, say it's July 17th of 2022, and then you want to contribute that amount every month for 10 months or 12 months or 14 months, and it calculates for you what that amount will be at that time set out in the future. And you can do that for any income source, for any asset, for anything that you have, to have it calculate for you what your debt settlement will be 6 or 12 or 18 months in the future when your negotiations reach your settlement targets, which we calculate in this next column, this final column, this yellow column. You can see again, all of your credit card information, each account and number has been carried over from where you entered it originally in the debts column, and the amount of debt from where you entered it there. So all you have to do now is enter the percentage that you think you want to target your settlements for. You'll hear many, many times in the Debt Settlement Easy Business Plan book and video course that I suggest 35% as a reasonable target to shoot for in about 12 to 18 months. If you want to settle sooner than that, you can go a little higher, 45, 55%. If you need to settle lower than that, 30, 25%, it could take longer. When you enter those percentages here, it'll show you as an estimate. These aren't actual. You'll hear more in the book and the course that these are really estimates based on experience, but not guaranteed. But it'll show you as an estimate how much time I believe it might think to settle at a higher or lower amount, or that 35% target. And it'll also calculate for you how much you're looking to settle each account for and how much your total settlement will be. Now, in the last column, we calculated your total settlement fund over time. And right here below is, I think, the best calculation in the whole spreadsheet, where it tells you that your settlement fund either meets or exceeds your target amount or is less than your target amount. And if it is less than your target amount, instead of having to go through sheets of paper or a spreadsheet that doesn't do calculations for you, or grab a calculator to figure out, hey, how do I bump this number up so it meets my target amounts, you just go back into the spreadsheet. You can go back to the settlement fund sheet and allocate more of each item to build that settlement fund over time, or stretch it out for longer months to build it more, or you can go back into your expenses column and reduce some expenses, or you can go all the way back into your income column, or go into your assets column and sell something else, or allocate more of the sale of something. And you can see, do I need $50 a week? Do I need $200 a month? Do I need to sell this for 50% or 75%, or allocate this much more of my positive cash flow until that settlement target fund in that last column exceeds your settlement target amounts, and you know you're good to go. I did all of that on paper with a calculator and in Excel without knowing all this background stuff back when I did my debt settlements. Now I've put it in this spreadsheet to just make it that much faster and easier for you, because I don't want you to spend all that time doing the calculations on your own. I don't even want you to spend the week plus that I spent building this spreadsheet. I want you to spend that time reading the book, going through the video course, settling out your debt, becoming debt-free, or just spending time with your family and your loved ones, living and enjoying your life. Let me do the work for you so you can put your time into being 100% debt-free and enjoying your life again. It's well worth the time. That's the settlement target spreadsheet. I hope you pick it up. All right, that's it. Kenny Goldie. I'll see you on the inside.